What's up, guys? Playing some Power Wash Simulator here. We are a decent amount way into the game. Uh, this is one of my go-tos for just something calming I can do. Somewhere you can come and clean a fictional space with just a ridiculously powerful power washer. This game is seriously so satisfying. Like, I've used power washers in real life, and obviously I don't think I've ever seen anything this dirty before, but it doesn't even come close to matching how just ridiculously satisfying this is. But anyway, we're playing this because I am trying to get back into doing some more recording. I took a bit of a break. I was having some issues with editing on the old busted up MacBook that I was editing on before. Plus, I was using a laptop for recording my gaming videos, and I was having some issues with that. So I just wanted to get some upgrades and step away for a moment and recollect things. I've recorded a couple things again to get back into it, and I've just been having issues with my audio. So we're trying a couple things now. So hopefully by the time this gets put out, I'll have all of that kind of worked out, and I can get back into making some more regular content. So sorry about the break. But I just wanted to jump in and chat. Really, that's something else I need to get used to with making these videos, is just having kind of a stream of consciousness and building up sort of I don't want to say rapport, but I'd like for anybody new coming to the channel to get to know me a little better. So, hey, I'm Red Winds. I play video games, I do art, I play music, I have a billion interests that I am kind of okay in. I'm okay with saying that, even if you may not think so all the time. And hopefully I'd like to share more and more with you guys on this channel. So follow along. I did caricatures for a long time. I say I did. I still do caricatures. I travel for that. I do a lot of stuff along the East Coast, Midwest, going to big fairs and events, and I just draw people for a living, which has been a blast. So I've started trying to take a step away from that and find something more at home I can do. So when I'm at home, I end up playing a lot of video games, and I love editing and making things. So I thought, why not make video game videos for YouTube? So this is just kind of the product of that. Hopefully you can at least, if you don't find me funny, you can hopefully at least find me entertaining. Because I overreact a lot. I've been playing Visage here recently, which is a horror game, and if you can stand horror games at all, I've been enjoying making those videos. I'll put the next one up here within the next week or so. And oh my gosh. I love to be scared. I realize that's not everybody's bag, and it's not something I used to enjoy, but the older I get, the more emotion of any kind you can make me feel, I am here for it. That's kind of sad when I put it that way, actually. But it's true. Like, everybody goes for excitement or fun or whatever. Those are these powerful emotions. But horror games, you're experiencing big emotions too, and that's what people crave. It's just those emotions, when done correctly, it's fear or tension or existential dread or, all the fun stuff. Art is supposed to make you feel. And I think a lot of people glance past that idea. I say glance, it's probably not the right word. It's like that whole toilet in the museum thing. It's a pretty famous story for those of you who don't know. There is this art piece that is literally just a toilet. Like, there's nothing fancy about the toilet. There's not much else to it, but it's sitting up on a pedestal in an art museum. And this got a lot of people talking about what is art, what makes it art. And the thing was, people were talking about it. People had a reaction to it. And that's what makes the art important, is it's making you feel something you otherwise wouldn't have. I guess another way I've heard it is art comforts the disturbed and disturbs the comfortable, which is a fantastic quote from an unknown source. Unknown to me. I'm sure somebody knows it. But that idea that you're just feeling something is... And not only feeling something, being made to feel something from just something else somebody has made. And in visual media, that's fantastic. It's hard getting people to feel things. Which might say something about society, but I don't think I'm ready to talk on that just yet. But this game, it makes me feel calm. And I'm here for that too. We're not here just to be scared or excited. Sometimes you have to power wash what I thought was grass. Now that I'm looking at it, it might just be like green concrete. Actually, I think I'm only just now realizing this is a mini golf course. I have not been paying any attention. But there is a rush of dopamine, I gotta tell you. Every time I finish cleaning like a little section of this and it goes ding and it sparkles white, like my brain is lighting up with fireworks. It is fantastic. It takes so little to make brain happy. It takes so little. And yet, often, people are unwilling to do that. And that's sad. But anyway, yeah, so I'd been doing caricatures since 2016. And I still do them. You're always welcome to go check me out on Instagram. I'm at Action Axton, Action Axton. I do a lot of really goofy stuff, and it's also a part of a community that I would have never known about otherwise. Which maybe I'll talk more about Caricature if that's something you guys are ever interested in hearing about, because there is a lot happening there. There is, I feel like this idea of caricature, like even when I said that initially, I feel like each of you probably had something pop up in your heads of what a caricature looks like, what that experience is. And it's usually based off of whatever your first and probably last experience getting a caricature was, where you were either at a theme park or there was somebody at an event drawing them, and people... especially if it's free, an event or something, will get that and they're like, oh, okay, this is what caricature is. And they will go by satisfied with whatever that is. Or dissatisfied, whatever your experience was. That's what you tend to think everybody's doing with that. And that's kind of just wildly untrue. Caricature is just a different form of drawing somebody where you're not only just drawing exactly what you see, which is what a lot of beginner artists get kind of hyper focused on, is that idea that you have to draw exactly what's in front of you. But you're taking those forms and you're basing them against forms you've seen before, and you're exaggerating those differences. And that is so complex, and there's so much you can do with that. There are lazy artists. I will say that there are lazy artists out there who have been doing this, 30, 40 years, and they they draw the same way and the same basic structure every time, and it's just kind of a 9 to 5 to them. And I don't think that's bad. It can kind of give a bad rep if you're unfamiliar with what we're doing. But I mean, people got to have jobs, and if you can draw something and still make money and not put in effort to it, like, more power to you, I guess. But that's not all there is to offer there. But I'll stop talking about that. Let's see. So, more about me then. I've done a lot of traveling as well, obviously through work, which I didn't really realize was an option when I was younger. I'm from Missouri, and before I had started Caricature, I'd never really left Missouri for any other reason. And it kind of gave me an excuse to go and see more of the world. I've done a lot of stuff East Coast. I've done traveling out towards the West here more recently. I've been to a few other countries, Mexico, Canada, New Zealand on a trip. And that all just kind of came from learning that I have a love of seeing all these different places that, in a way, everywhere is more similar than you might expect, but different enough that you get this feeling that people aren't so different, but you can see how, based on their environment, they might appear to be, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't. I'm just talking. Like, New Zealand, despite being on the other side of the world, it was basically the States. Like, they've got different laws and some different customs there, and obviously there's some more different cultures that I got to see kind of a preview of, if you want to call it a preview, a snippet of would be a better word. And that's incredible. But, like, walking around Auckland, where I ended up staying the bulk of that time, it could have been any city in the States. They had better coffee, but people there were friendly walking around. There were shops, there's all these things, and everything you'd expect to see in the United States, really. But you guys came here for gaming content, which is hopefully what I'll be making of the majority of the time here. Since I started with my new computer, I will try and do some more, like, multiplayer games. I play with a group of friends pretty consistently. So I might record some of those and edit them down to some of the funny bits, which could be interesting. So stick around for those. I love playing horror games, like I said. I love getting scared. And I'm really into trying out indie games. So if you have any indie games you are interested in, or you think I might be interested in, just hit me up, send me a message, let me know what you think I should play, and if I can snag it up, chances are I will, especially if there's a sale going on. I recently picked up 20 Minutes Till Dawn based off of a friend's recommendation, and I've been trying to record an episode of that. I have flubbed 2 recordings of it now because of audio issues, and I think I've got most of the kinks worked out of the system now, but you never know until you get into it, but man, this is so satisfying. Like all these bright colors. This game, the developers of this game are so smart because each of these levels, like, you don't tend to find colors this bright in a lot of places you go. Like the colors of the grass and everything, it's cartoonishly brightly colored. And the same goes for the things inside of it. Like there was a skate park level that was all bright reds and blues and greens, and they hide it underneath this dark muck so that it is just so much more satisfying when you get rid of all that muck. And it's like, oh, okay, there was these bright oranges underneath of here, these bright teals and yellows and reds you can already kind of see hiding in that. And that is that sense of like, I am doing something very good right now is hard to accomplish in such a satisfying way. I've played games where it's like renovation. I've played like Gas Station Simulator where you're building up a gas station from scratch in the desert, or those house flipper games, or all these kind of things. And they try their best to emulate that feeling of, I am taking something that is perceived as very ugly or run down, and I am either restoring it or I am making something new from it. And there's always going to be something satisfying about that, but you need to make the mechanics of doing that as satisfying as possible. I have started games of like Stardew Valley, the sort of Harvest Moon clone that I guess everybody knows about at this point. But I have started that game no less than like 10 times. And 100% of the time, my favorite part of the game is that first season where you step out of your farm and they have set it up where there is rocks and sticks and all of this nonsense covering your property. And you just have to go out and every day use what energy and time you have to cut down the extra trees, mow the lawn, get rid of the rocks, and eventually you'll have enough room to plow out land and make a garden to start selling crops. Like that initial part where you are taking that rundown property and you're making something admittedly simple of it is so satisfying. It's it always works out a lot more cleanly in game than it does in real life. I have helped my parents, for instance. We bought a pretty rundown home. I say they bought a pretty rundown home that was in a more convenient location for them, but it needed some serious work before it was going to be livable. And while satisfying, oh my gosh, the effort it took to bring out garbage bags filled with all of the nonsense this house had in it. I I don't know how much detail to go into there, but it was the family that lived here last. It was a pretty sad affair. There was jars and jars of like canned foods that I would assume would have been from like the 90s, or I say canned, jarred foods, like homemade jarred foods with like molds just covering them just in piles in the basement with bulk packages of diapers, and it was messed up kind of, but no judgment to that family. Everybody goes through hard times, and some people gets hit harder than others. But it was certainly an ordeal getting this place up and running. Which now, I mean, they live in a perfectly nice home. Expanded it and opened up walls so that the living room and the kitchen all become one area, and renovated the bathrooms and the entire upstairs pretty well, redid all the flooring and took out all the old smoky carpeting. And it was really something seeing this place transform. which is exactly what I'm doing here. I haven't seen anything ding in a minute. I need that ding for my sanity. Let's see if we can get this roof cleaned enough that it dings. Ring a ding, baby. But yeah, I am a completely open book as far as like things and topics I am willing to talk about. So if you have any questions about me or my experiences, always feel free to just let me know in the comments. Maybe I'll make a video about it or hit me up. I am always willing to share whatever my humble wealth of knowledge exists. That was kind of a sentence. I said that out loud. But yeah. Let's see. I am always picking up new skills. Jack of all trades, but a master of none. Which I know a lot of people who get frustrated with that mentality, actually, where they themselves struggle with. It's usually a symptom of like ADHD, I find, where you want to keep picking up new skills. Not that I have ADHD, or at least I've never been formally diagnosed. But that idea that you want to pick up new skills, but you just can't stick with it because there is that threshold when you're picking up a new skill where if you're not immediately good at it, then it's tough to push past that. And that's sadly kind of a hard thing to train out of somebody. The number one thing I see that most with is with art, and that could be just because I've dealt so much with art. But people are afraid to be bad at art. Like when you're a kid, you can be bad at art, and it'll still get hung up on the fridge, right? Like you have no frame of reference when you're young of what art should look like or what your art as an adult or as a child doing art should look like. So when an adult takes it and they go, "This is very nice, good job," and you can use that as motivation to keep drawing and doing more, and maybe eventually you'll start getting good at art, right? But when you're an adult and you're starting out at that same level, it feels bad because you see kids drawing at that level. Like, let's use cooking as an example, right? So if I'm an adult and I was never really raised to cook, and I didn't cook when I was younger, as an adult, especially starting to live on your own, that desire to cook sort of pops up. And you start, and when you start, you end up burning things, you end up under-seasoning things, or over-seasoning, or you make 100 mistakes, right? But that's because you're just starting to learn how to cook. And the only person judging your cooking skills in those cases, unless you've got a family to feed, tends to just be yourself. And you're learning and you're growing from that, and you're not using what you think your cooking should taste like as a point of reference. Of course, that's how it was when I was learning how to cook. I can't speak for everybody. I hope I'm making sense. Like, there's this idea that's hard to shake, and it is the idea that you should be better than where you're currently at. And that's simply not true. You should want to be better than where you're at. Yes, you should always want to improve on yourself. But if you're basing that off of the skills somebody else has learned when they also had to be where you're at some point during their time, then you're holding yourself back for no reason because you just haven't started yet. I rant a lot about people saying they can't draw or yada yada. It's self-doubt all the time. I actually have a very long rant, which I don't think I'll get into right now, about talent and how people use the word talent in regular conversation. Basically, the way I see it is when people are complimenting somebody on their talent, what they're usually complimenting that person on is the skill they've taken a very long time to develop, but they're using the word talent to put themselves kind of down because they're about to say something along the lines of, I can't draw, I couldn't draw a stick figure, I couldn't draw a tree, I couldn't draw blah blah blah, like I could never because I don't have your talent. And that's always bugged me. I never liked people infusing compliments with their own self-doubt. That's no fun. Because I know that people are capable of way more than they think they are 100% of the time. And the people who the problem is when people are more confident in their abilities than their abilities have room to show up for, they get seen as just overconfident, or what's the right word? Egotistical, I guess, maybe. But you see that personality, and you yourself being me, I can't speak for everybody, so, but you yourself see that personality, and you're like, oh, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that jerk who speaks super highly of themselves and their ability to, do things that they can't really do very well. So I'm going to just go the full opposite direction and say that I'm terrible at everything. And it's an overcorrection. So if I can get people to change that kind of mentality at any point, I am all here for it. But yeah, I think I have talked enough for one episode. So what we're going to do from here is I think I am going to take the rest of this and I'm going to see if I can put it into a time lapse. That way you guys aren't left being unsatisfied with the rest of this place being unfinished. But if you liked this format where I just kind of stream of consciousness, talk, and get to know me, and maybe I can get to know you a little through comments and such, let me know. Drop a comment, drop a like, and certainly drop a follow. I am certainly lacking in those right now. But yeah, appreciate you guys. See you at the end. So there ended up being way more to clean here than what I initially anticipated. Even with the time lapse, this episode's going to be longer than what it's supposed to be. So what we're going to do is this episode's going to be a two-parter. So come back hopefully soon. Please leave a comment and I'll have another episode. See you next time, guys.
Yeah, yeah.